Hi, it's time for another episode of The Gold Mine. I'm your host, Casey Bell, and today's guest is Shakira Rouse. Let's get started. So, you are an entrepreneur. Did you grow up in an entrepreneur household?
No, I actually didn't grow up in an entrepreneur household. So this is an experience that I'm learning as I go along the way. I've always heard the expression that being an entrepreneur is like jumping off a cliff and building the plane on the way down. So I see myself fully building that plane on the way down. Had moments where I had to kind of stop and reevaluate and readjust and seek help from the community the best ways I knew how to.
Awesome. So, what was it that said you needed to start a business? Being that that wasn't something you were raised in, how did the knowledge of entrepreneurship and knowledge of you starting a business come to your mind?
So in grade 10, we have to do a careers like course. And I remember doing my project on entrepreneurship. And I just remember at that time being really fascinated and having this idea. At the time, it was to create my own hotel actually and get more in hospitality. But as I kind of progressed through school, I kind of found a calling and a passion in education. And I just kind of found myself being more pulled in that direction of working with youth. And I thought that was actually what I was called to do. So I kind of put that whole idea of business and entrepreneurship on the back burner behind me and was kind of pursuing more of a career in education. But what prompted me to start Special Compass was my own personal experience in school when I had a hard time with my learning disability. And when I decided to go back to school to finish a degree, I picked up a minor in inclusive education, and it gave me all this information that I didn't really have before, that information that was critical for my whole academic experience. And then I realized, hey, there's like a lot of information that could have helped me, but also will help other students. And then kind of gave me the incentive to, okay, I think this is where I want to make a change, and kind of started me to think of this as, okay, how do I create change? Start this a program to help create change for other students and other parents, as well as being able to sustain myself and create a living. And then I realized, in an indirect way, I guess life has a way of bringing things full circle. I ended up building a business, but in education.
So, talk about Special Compass. What is it, and who are your clients, and what do you give them?
Cool. So Special Compass is an organization dedicated to helping students with learning disabilities and other exceptional needs achieve success inside and outside the classroom. So I create all the programs and do a lot of the presentations and workshops myself. I help students that are making the transition from high school to post-secondary understand what's needed to get support and accommodations in the post-secondary level, and just how to be more proactive in their academic futures. Helping parents to understand that, if they're new to this whole process, and understanding that, hey, that their child just got diagnosed with a learning disability or any kind of other exceptional needs, how to navigate the education system, how to help their son or daughter get the support they need in school, outside the school, as well as help them to be more confident and a proactive, learner themselves. My real whole mission is that I don't want other people to think, because of they have like some kind of exceptional need, that they have to settle for less, or they have to settle on their dreams. I just really want them to reach their full potential. So essentially, I really strive to work hard to help students become the leader, the captain of their own academic journeys, and be more proactive in their education. And a lot of who I've been targeting have been parents. A lot of times I've met parents that are, they're just kind of going through the motions of what's going on in the school. They gain these assessments, these reports. They don't know how to, what to do with them. And so I usually help them, guide them. And, we sit down and have a conversation, and we make a plan. I call it a learning map, where we just say, okay, this is where your child is right now. This is where we need to what we need to work on to move forward. And this is what we need to keep in mind going ahead in the future. So a lot of my clients are from working with parents, and when I work in individual students, I'm working with mainly high school to post-secondary. I've had experience, but I've really had experience with working with students from like K all the way up to 12.
So out of curiosity, you said you took a minor in inclusive education and you learned a lot of things you wish you would have known. Name two of those things that were not taught to you that you believe would be helpful not only to parents, but to students as well.
Yeah, so the biggest thing I learned is what is a learning disability actually. And most of the time we hear this word like learning disability and we have like our stereotypical assumptions, and we're not really too, I don't think people have a really, idea, I should say a solid idea and understanding of what that word means. So a learning disability, just in a simpler context, it just means that a person's mind processes information differently and they just learn differently and they take in information differently. And the second thing I was able to really understand when I took my minor in inclusive education was, most specifically, I was able to understand my own learning disability. So one of the things that I have challenges with is written expression, I should say, which essentially is like, if I had to write an essay, it would take me forever to organize my thoughts and my ideas onto paper. Some people could write an essay in 24 hours. Some people need 2 to 3 weeks. I'm one of those people that need 2 to 3 weeks to write an essay. But if I had to give a verbal presentation, that's no problem. I could get up, communicate my ideas more effectively and efficiently than I can written expression. And then I was able to really understand when that visual spatial memory and understand the different, specifically what my learning disability is and how it relates to me, and understand more specifically how my mind processes information and why I gravitate to doing certain things and I shy away from certain subjects and stuff like that.
Well, no offense to the educational world, but I think we need to change that term because I don't see it as a disability. I see it as diversity. If you are a construction worker and you can build a house really well, you don't need the skill of essays because you're never going to write an essay. You're only going to be building houses. And it doesn't mean that person has a disability. It's just the teacher hasn't found their skills yet. And the problem with school is they throw a bunch of diverse people in school. And even though they're not a lawyer, they're not a doctor, they're not a dancer, at some point that's what they're going to be. And they're not all going to need the same information that they're teaching. And I think if they would, well, I know if they taught more information we all need, like how to read and understand a contract, because when you get an apartment or a home or a car, you have no clue what those words mean. If they taught you how to budget, bookkeeping, those are things we all need and we can all use in our daily lives instead of teaching information like how to write an essay. When if someone wants to be a dancer or someone wants to be a real estate agent, that's not skills they need. So I don't think it's a disability. It's just we have to, because school forces you to do certain things, you have to learn how to force yourself to complete that work to at least a C or B so you're not staying back. And so I think it's wonderful that you are teaching parents and students that you don't have to just think you're stupid and dumb, that you really can learn beyond what they're labeling you. And so I thank you for that. So being that you were not in an entrepreneur environment, where did you start? Did you get books? Did you go to webinars, seminars to figure out entrepreneurship? Or did you just, as you said, you just fell and figured it out as you went?
It was, I took the fall and I was figuring it out as I was going along. I would, in the beginning, I think I had the mindset of like, oh, I don't know what to do, so then I need help. And I feel like I was just grabbing all these resources, trying to cling to people that I thought they were going to take me to where I need to go and kind of guide me on the steps. And not to say that these people or, my actions were not beneficial, but eventually I kind of this was, I guess, another roadblock I kept hitting where I kind of felt like I was being taken away from my vision. I was kind of starting and stopping, not really progressing and doing things that didn't really please me or didn't really entertain me. So for one example was that this whole notion of blogging, I kind of put the pressure on myself that I had to be blogging every week, had to be, you know, producing something on social media every day. And it took the joy out of what it is I really wanted to do. So I went to all those workshops, those seminars, took notes, took information, and took what I needed, but learned to apply it for me in a way that fits for me. And I can say that, again, that was an overnight process. That was one of those, okay, stop. Oh, we hit a roadblock. We got to readjust, kind of try again, and, you know, take a step forward. But eventually along the way, I realized that, hey, you know what? I do have all the skills I need to be successful in this. I just need to trust myself and stop thinking that I need somebody or something. Just do, you know, follow my vision, follow my gut intuition. And when the resources that I need are gonna come when I need them. So for example, I mean, I don't mean to say this and think people, okay, yeah, like, you know, I could go become an entrepreneur without any skill or training. You still need to understand certain basic concepts. Like you still need to understand like the financial operations, the marketing, you know, operations, and, you know, fulfilling your sales or services, whatever it is you're in the business. So I did take, you know, like I said, when I would go to those workshops and conferences, I was more selective of the information that I was looking for. So I wasn't just going to any kind of social media, you know, workshop. Now I'll be going to social media workshops that are talking specifically about, let's say, analytics. Now I'm going to social media workshops that are specifically targeting to like Facebook or Instagram, different ways of learning how to create content, stuff like that. And eventually I felt like I gained a good wealth of knowledge where I was able to like, okay, I could proceed, take a step, and, you know, do what I need to do. But I think the benefit of all that in just learning and training too is that as an entrepreneur, you can't do it all yourself. Eventually, you got to start building and growing a team of people, whether they're to help you in your operations or in the background of different things. But the more that you know yourself, that you become educated, and you're going to be able to pick the right people to be on your team. And so when that point came for me, I kind of realized I came to a point where I was able to really decipher, or more accurately, I would say, who's going to be a proper fit to be on my team to help me and support me on this journey, and who's not going to be a proper fit.
So I'm sure you heard the saying, I wish I know then what I know now. Give at least one or two tips people starting in entrepreneurship should know before they get started that you know now, but you didn't know when you started.
Okay, so one, you don't have to do it all. I think this is the biggest thing, that we think that we have to do everything, be everything. You don't have to do it all. You definitely don't lack anything. You have everything you need to be successful. And with following that, I would say just start small. Sometimes it's, you know, we have these big visions and we want to be, you know, the big CEO, but even Amazon didn't start off as Amazon as it is now, right? It started off, you know, selling books. It started off, you know, in the, I think it was his garage or basement. It started off, everything started off small. So start small, start where you are now, and just use what you got. And then eventually you're going to scale and grow up, and then expand from there.
Cool. So kind of off the subject question, if you had the opportunity, if you know of any entrepreneurs that inspired you, that you would like to sit down and talk and ask questions, whether this person be dead or alive, who would this person be and why?
That's a good question. I think I would, maybe this may sound a little bit cliche, but I think I would really want to sit down with Oprah Winfrey. And she is somebody that, you know, had faced her own adversity personally and professionally, and has created something that is of her own, and has really set the bar for other people to, you know, to I don't say mimic, or, you know, really set the bar in that industry of like media and journalism. And I think if I were to sit down and have a conversation with her, I would just want to know, you know, how did she do it? Like, how did you, keep pushing forward? What was your toughest challenges? And most importantly, I guess, like, how do you go about creating, how did you always have this vision? Like, how did you go about, sometimes we have our visions are so big and sometimes it could be overwhelming, but how did you kind of keep pushing forward with that vision? And I think she's somebody that would, bring great insight on a personal and professional level. And I think she's someone even the other couple of weeks ago watching that interview she did with Megan and Harry, it really reminded me, like, yes, she is a real true boss woman in her own field.
Yeah, and she still has it because,
Yeah.
she stopped her show, but she could still do an interview.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So real off the topic subject question. Who painted that picture behind you?
I'm not too sure, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I have to take it down to go back. I
Oh,
remember
okay.
I wrote down, but I picked it up at a store and it was a perfect price. And I said, you know what, this fits exactly what I want to decorate in my space. So why not?
That is all the time we have for you today on The Gold Mine. Thank you, Shakira Rouse, for coming on and sharing your work with us. And to the audience, thank you so much for viewing. Have a great day. Have a great week.